And as the flames climbed high into the night, to the light, the sacrificial rite, I saw Satan laughing with delight the day the music died. He was singing "Bye, bye, Miss American Pie." Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, "This'll be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die." It's Don McLean's 1971 song American Pie about the death of Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper in a 1959 plane crash mourns the loss of three talented musicians, as well as the end of an optimistic and idealistic era in America. And while McLean has never specifically offered his personal interpretation of the song's lyrics, it is widely believed that it serves as an elegy depicting his grief over Buddy Holly's death. Chances are you've heard the word elegy before, and you know it has something to do with remembering a person who has died. And you'd be correct. An elegy is a reflective poem that laments the loss of someone or something. Of course, losing someone can refer not only to death, but simply an absence. As a result, elegies can be used to mourn the death of a person, the breakup with a lover, the end of an idealistic era, or even the trading in of your dream car for the family-style minivan. So, you might be listening to this and thinking, this sounds like a eulogy. What's the difference? Well, let's clear that up before we move on. An elegy and a eulogy are so similarly spelled and used that they can easily be misunderstood, but their differences are fairly easy to identify. First, they are different forms of writing. Whereas an elegy is a poem or even a song, a eulogy is written as an essay or a short piece of prose. In other words, one is written in stanzas, while the other is written in paragraphs. The second major difference is in the tone, the author's attitude toward the subject of the piece. In an elegy, the speaker is lamenting the loss of the person who has passed. In this case, we have a tone of remorse. The eulogy takes a lighter approach and seeks to reminisce about the person's best qualities during their life on earth. This creates a tone of respect. So Don McLean's American Pie can qualify as an elegy because of its poetic structure and its elegiac tone. As with most forms of poetry, the structure defined by the elegy has changed over time. Like the song American Pie, more modern elegies deal with a more philosophical sadness and a broad sense of loss. Just as Don McLean mourns the loss of America's optimistic era, other poets have lamented on the horrors of war, as in Paul Celan's Fugue of Death, for the cruelty imposed on the victims of the Holocaust. Traditional elegies, though, were more focused and more structured. Mostly these involved either public figures or someone of personal significance. And while not all elegies of the past had only 3 stanzas, many traditional elegies were arranged by the 3 stages of loss: lament, praise, and solace. An example of this is Walt Whitman's "O Captain, My Captain," an elegy written about Abraham Lincoln. Whitman's first stanza laments the loss of Lincoln, saying, "O heart, heart, heart," as he sees the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. The second stanza looks to praise Lincoln with "The flag is flung, for you the bugle trills." Bouquets and ribboned wreaths and eager faces further pay tribute to Lincoln's life. The final stanza offers some solace in that the ship is anchored safe and sound, its voyage closed and done, even though the rest of the lines are still quite mournful. The overall tone of this traditional elegy is one of heartfelt remorse for the loss of such a great leader. So an elegy is a reflective poem that laments the loss of someone or something and differs from a eulogy in form and tone. While modern elegies are loosely structured and have a more broad sadness, traditional elegies follow the 3 stages of loss: lament, praise, and solace. Among these traditional elegies is Walt Whitman's "O Captain, My Captain," which mourns the death of Abraham Lincoln.